Hi there everyone. I wanted to try a little something different out here, so let's see how this goes. Before I start though, just a disclaimer. The score at the end of the review is based entirely off my experience with the game over the past month or so. This isn't meant to be a super technical breakdown of the game in any way. Also, the start of the review is meant to give you a little bit of insight as to what my preferences are with the genre and what my history is with the franchise. So now with all that out of the way, let's get on with it. The first Call of Duty title to grab my attention was Modern Warfare in 2007. I didn't get hooked onto the multiplayer at all back then, as I was busy with Halo 3 in those days. I did, however, enjoy the campaign a lot, and I started looking forward to a new Call of Duty title every year just for its campaign. While most of my experience with the multiplayer modes in the meantime would be in the form of split screen offline or split screen online. I didn't feel compelled to play a Call of Duty game's multiplayer mode by myself until Black Ops 2 came out, with which I enjoyed my time thoroughly. And after this point, Call of Duty would be my most played online multiplayer game every year. Just a few things before we get to the game itself. I'm not a fan of survival or horde or wave-based modes in games. I've also tried Fortnite and PUBG, and those battle royale games have not clicked with me at all. And I really do not like matches on large maps where it can take you a while to find an enemy, which is one of the reasons why I haven't resonated with the Battlefield franchise. With all that in mind, I hope this gives you an idea of where I'll be coming from for this review. Let's get the biggest and most obvious issue I had with this game out of the way first. There is no campaign, and that significantly hurts the overall package for me. Before release, Treyarch positioned these specialist missions in the game as some sort of alternate way to tell the story, or act as some sort of small replacement for the campaign, but these definitely do not fit the bill. These are basically objective-based tutorial missions that take place on multiplayer maps, with the purpose of introducing you to the abilities of each of the specialists. These missions can also have a 1 to 2 minute cutscene attached to them. I'd say they're similar to arcade ladder endings in fighting games, rather than some sort of alternative to the campaign. However, while these do not stand in as a campaign replacement, they do hold a lot of value for the multiplayer mode of the game. In Black Ops 3, Treyarch introduced specialist classes, and I felt totally lost at the time, not knowing exactly what the abilities of these classes were and how to execute said abilities. Not to mention, some of the specialist classes were level gated. This time around, all of them are selectable from the start, and the specialist missions give a great overview of the quirks for each class that take you through a few scenarios against bots to use them in. I may never have tried out the class that I spent the majority of my time with in the game had I not played through these. These missions also serve to demonstrate how various score streaks work, and they end with one full match against bots, introducing various game types. This is probably the only part where I think these specialist missions falter. This full match can run really long and be generally boring, as the first time around it is set to a non-adjustable recruit difficulty. So unless you're just going for a completionist run, I'd honestly just recommend exiting out of the match once you get to it. As for the actual multiplayer, I feel that it's some of the best it has ever been in the series. I've always seemed to click with Treyarch's design sensibilities when it comes to multiplayer maps, and the ones featured in this game feel up to their standards. 4 classic Black Ops 1 and 2 maps also make a return appearance, raising the total map count to 14. In regards to gameplay, one of the first apparent changes to the established Call of Duty formula is that basic health regeneration is now gone. It is replaced with a numbered health system with a stim shot, and that stim shot is assigned to L1 and initiates health regeneration once taken. But it is on a recharge and will not always be available for use right away, unlike with health regeneration in past games, where you could just find a place to lay low and trigger it after only a few seconds. The next big change is that the unique specialist equipment, frag grenades, concussion grenades, any similar equipment like that are now in one slot. Those are assigned to the R1 button, and only one can be chosen rather than have multiples active at the same time. So you will have to decide which one suits your playstyle the best. The last thing I'd like to mention gameplay wise is if you're coming from Black Ops 3 or Infinite Warfare, wall running and double jumps are now gone. I like those, and do kind of miss the dynamic it brought to the matches. But the maps and the balance in this game are designed without those in mind, so in the moment-to-moment gameplay, it does not feel like anything is missing. The number of overall weapons has also decreased, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. There are strictly level-based unlocks now, rather than the point system the last few games featured. And the game in general felt more balanced weapon-wise in my time playing so far, possibly due to this. Campaign and multiplayer haven't been the only parts of the Call of Duty equation in the past few years. The game also ships with 3 zombie maps, with a 4th one available to play right away if you have the Season Pass. As I said at the beginning, I'm personally not a fan of survival-based modes in nearly any game, but I did give each of these maps a shot, going as far as I could in one of them, and quitting after 9 rounds in the other ones due to simply not having fun. The 3 maps have significantly different settings and feature a basic setup to get things going. And while there is in-game banter from the characters in all of them, only one of them featured voice lines from the characters in the cutscenes. And that is related to the previous zombie storylines in the Treyarch games. I did have some hope that one of the settings would bring a little bit of variation to the formula weapons-wise, as it takes place in a gladiator setting, but was disappointed almost instantly once I went into gameplay and your character immediately had a gun in their head. If you weren't a fan of zombies in Call of Duty before, this is likely not going to change your mind. If you do pick up the game though, I would suggest to at least try out the tutorials to get a feel of what the general structure can be like, and what tools you'll have at your disposal in this mode. And the last remaining mode of the game is the newest addition to the franchise, Call of Duty's take on Battle Royale, Blackout. This runs mostly at 60 frames per second and is strictly in first-person perspective, which at a glance, with my limited experience, seems more polished than its closest competitor in the genre, PUBG. My time in Blackout was basically spending a really long time in a match without seeing much action at all, and then having it be over in an instant, which is really not something that appeals to me, as I indicated earlier. I placed 10th in my first match without even getting a single kill, died 5 minutes into the second match after my first encounter with someone, and quit the third one out of boredom after a while of seeing no action. It is just simply not my thing, much like zombies. And much like zombies, if Battle Royale has not appealed to you so far, this will likely not change your mind either. Unless your main issue with the other Battle Royale games was that the shooting did not feel as good as it does in Call of Duty. A week after launch, the Black Market system got introduced into Black Ops 4. But unlike past games, it does not contain any weapon or gameplay changing unlocks. It is at the moment solely for cosmetic rewards. However, I really do not like this kind of system being introduced after many of the reviews had already come in. And I've been seeing this trend happening more and more with the bigger games recently. Also, in an age where developers are doing away with paid DLC, especially for elements like multiplayer maps which can split up the user base, Black Ops 4 not only doubles down on it with the Season Pass, but it is no longer featuring individual map pack purchases like they used to. Whereas before, when a few maps came out, a person could decide on spending $15 to get those. Now it's an all or nothing $50 purchase, which is just a head scratcher of a decision. Also, as mentioned, there is a 4th zombie map available from day one as part of the Season Pass. Local multiplayer options are super important to me, and thankfully Black Ops 4 continues the long-standing Call of Duty tradition to provide many options for people who like these modes. Both Zombies and local multiplayer can be played completely offline. Zombies mode is capable of 4-player split screen, while multiplayer mode, and surprisingly, Blackout, can do 2-player split screen. Bots can also be assigned to fill up the spaces for the Zombies mode, and they can be set up for local multiplayer matches as well. Continuing to offer local multiplayer and split screen options is a big plus for me, especially in this day and age where more and more of the bigger games are doing away with these modes. As for any online only elements, aside from the obvious online only mode, Blackout, for some reason the specialist missions, which are solely done against bots, require an online connection, and this leads into the last section of this review. The online connection requirement for the specialist missions resulted in me getting a lost connection to host error, but only for certain specialists. Others would be just fine. I would go on to try these missions on multiple occasions within the first 2 weeks, getting these errors over and over again. which resulted in me not being able to do those missions for 3 of the specialists. But the good thing is it looks like they fixed the issue, and I was eventually able to do those specialist missions. However, I did get these errors when testing it out again, but it only happened randomly, rather than being for a particular specialist. The game also crashed on me at 6 different occasions, sometimes offline, sometimes online. It feels like the earlier than usual release date came at the cost of the game's stability this time. But in the end, this was just a handful of times over the course of my entire playthrough, so even though it is seemingly more unstable than the past entries in this franchise were at launch, it is not something to be too concerned about, and will likely be fixed over time through a patch. Black Ops 4 is one of the best Call of Duty games in recent years and an easy purchase if you're mainly looking for an online multiplayer, zombies, or battle royale experience. If the campaign was the main draw of the past games for you, then I would not recommend it. If you only like to dabble a bit in a mode or two of the previous games, then I would recommend waiting for a sale. If you're watching this review as soon as it was uploaded, then the Black Friday sales are imminent. In the US, you should be able to pick it up for $35 to $40, in Canada for $50 if the past years are any indication. Thank you to everyone who watched this. Leave a comment to tell me what you thought. I will be taking your feedback into consideration. So like, comment, subscribe, etc., etc. Thank you for watching again, and see you all later.